And I go back to just like I taught, working with the kids today in the cold out here, practicing your huddle every day. Practicing your timeout every day. I step in, the defense is to my left, the offense is to my right. The taller guys are in the back, the shorter guys are up front. They sit there with the proper posture. Nobody's sitting there like this with their legs crossed like these kids do. Their stick is up, their mouthpiece is in. They're ready to go. The efficiency of all of that. And there's, all these years of doing this, the X's and O's are huge, get it. The fundamentals are huge too. But just the efficiency of how you go about your business and cutting down all that lag time. And then, you're out there an hour and 40 minutes and they sit there and they look at you and they go, look what we accomplished in an hour and 40 minutes. Without like this. I played for the greatest coach, in my opinion, of all time, Jack Emmer. And this is Jack Emmer's world. Like it's the speed. And all of a sudden, you practice so fast. Now you go to game day, you're already fast. Like people say, well, you want to play fast? You better practice fast. You don't say we're going to turn around and play fast today or play slow tomorrow. Like we were teaching the kids today the restart drill. Like a little simple thing like the ball goes out of bounds, the attackman picks it up, takes his time, or kind of starts running before the whistle. They blow the dead, you just killed the restart. So, we did it in 2-on-2s. You pick it up, take one step in, you go, ref, 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 and then you're off to the races. And you incorporate like all that little stuff in those drills. So like in a drill, you never hand a kid the ball. Because that doesn't happen in the game. The most overcoached thing in lacrosse is 6-on-6. You break down the scoring. Your team, your goal is to score in the teens, 13, 14. And you break down each category where you scored, I would say less than 25% is 6-on-6. And we've charted over the years. The most overcoached thing is 6-on-6. And the most overcoached thing is when you play 6-on-6 is that you start with the ball in your stick. It's early offense to 6-on-6. It's the sub game. It's the clear to 6-on-6. It's the face-off to 6-on-6. And all the sub action that goes with that. Another thing we did at Highland Park that I couldn't believe, we didn't run one conditioning sprint the entire year. We took out, you see it like in we had it here. The demeaning coaching that's going on out here. And I saw it firsthand in our opponents. People screaming at kids, you moron, you idiot. Catch them up in ball. You think those kids listen to you? No. What they want to be held accountable. They want you to be tough. We're fair, we're courteous, we're polite, and we're tough as nails. It's like anything else. We want our players to, yes, ma'am, no, sir. They're calling me sir. I said, Prince Charles is sir. I'm coach.
That was an adjustment. Yeah, for me, that was an adjustment.
Yeah, right? All the fist pumps after practice, I never saw that before. Yeah. But I just think that the transition of all of that, like everything, all the sub game, like we practiced vertical sub game. All those kids that want to bow and sub to the sideline and slow down. We 10-man ride, that's our bread and butter, the 10-man ride at Highland Park. And to be able to, before you put in the ride, you practice getting into the ride. How do you get to your spots first? You can't ride till you get there first. And that was huge. And then by doing all that, by sprinting, so the kids know there's no conditioning, but we can always condition if you don't go like a kamikaze, like in every drill you do. And so by the end of the year, there was no team in better shape than we were because we practiced that way. And they love the fact that, I said, guys, we have two, I would say to them, like halfway, we're not practicing well, we're walking around, we all have that, we're jogging. Guys, what do you want to do here? You want to go on the end line and run suicides? or you want to sprint full speed in every drill. They nod their head and all of a sudden everything changes. You don't threaten them, you don't demean them, you don't put them down, none of that stuff. Kids, I grew up in the Vince Lombardi days, the Newt Rockney days. Those days are over. And in my youth, did I coach like that? Absolutely. Absolutely. But again, at the end of the day, for all of us as high school people, in college, you're around your guys 24/7. And here, I don't teach in the building. I'm a hired coach that shows up in the afternoon. So, how do you get to know your guys? My phone's over there. I do homework assignments via text. I do 2 or 3 a week. I'll do 4 or 5 maybe during the season. Well, I even do homework assignments. I'll pull one up on my phone here. This was Thursday. And this has nothing to do with coaching necessarily. It's more about life. But the stuff you find on here, you can use, is incredible. So I sent this on Thursday, and they had to text me. There's 74 kids. This is before tryouts. This is all the high school kids, and I have the text chains in my phone. I don't believe in the Snapchat stuff. I mean, you might believe it. That's fine. I have each class in my phone. I have each position group in my phone. I have a leadership group in my phone, so I can address whoever I need to address with this. The coaching you can do on your phone today, not being in the building, that's where I had to figure this out, it's you can't imagine what you can do. I got it right here. I think it's John Gordon. You guys ever listen to John Gordon? Yeah. So this is one of them here. And this is announcements. This was John Gordon the other day. Gentlemen, good morning. Happy Thursday to you all. How about that? Same group, same schedule as last night. Be on time, blah, blah, blah. Please watch this video ASAP. Text me individually the one word that's going to define your season. So the one word. There's one word for all of this. They'll need this completed by the end of the day this Sunday. So they're filling me in. And all 74 responded within 2 hours. You heard about integrity, progression, toughness, fatigue. There's things that I didn't even consider that they would answer. And then what I did is I kept a tabulation of every name and their word. And then I texted them back yesterday and basically said, hold yourself accountable to your word. Put it in your notebook, put it on your mirror, put it on your refrigerator, stuff like that. But it's amazing if you take the time, the things you can do to motivate your guys for not being in college, I'm around them all the time. So, you could do this in person. But now that we're not, and because of COVID too, which really set us back and all that, that's been an incredible tool, I think. I think for myself at the high school level, you can even have a greater impact and kind of in those other areas as well. So kind of went off on a tangent about all that, but so I want to go back to the 6-on-6 real quick, and this is huge. So I go back to the categories. So offense to me is face off to the goal. Offense to me is ride to the goal. Offense to me is unsettled to the goal. Offense to me is transition to the goal. Offense to me is the sub game to the goal. When all that is exhausted, then you're going to play 6-on-6. All of that. And to teach your guys just basically that. And what it becomes now, so many coaches want to make it a half field game. The best coaches and the best teams play the full field game. They play 110 by 60. Those are the best teams. And accentuate your athleticism there in those regards. So that was something I wanted to mention to you guys that I think is very important to the offensive guys. And then the other part too, you turn them on the defensive end, and this is huge, especially with the clearing, the time clock. The greatest thing that we spend more practice on than anything is the clearing game. The clearing game. Not 6-on-6 defense, up and out. The clearing game. Over the top. And it's not so much your sets, it's just doing that. The punt return, the inbound, the restarts. The best clear in the world is one that can clear it before they set up their ride. And we applied that same approach to Highland Park. I mean, we spent, the coaches were killing me about the amount of time we're doing this. We're going to get this right. Because in our sport, the greatest momentum killer is a failed clear. Our game's a game of momentum. You turn it over, and all of a sudden you had a 2-goal lead, and you go down 3 because that one failed clear accelerated this incredible momentum shift. And so if you're clear now at 98 to 99% in that area, somewhere mid-90s, you're doing a hell of a job. But again, like all of this, you can't say it to the kids, you got to practice it. That's the big thing, and tell them why. If you ask our guys, and then another thing we do with the Highland Park, if you ask a Duke graduate, a Bryant graduate, Ohio Wesleyan graduate, the places where we coached, I'm a big core value guy. I grew up as my father fought in the Marines in Korea. And if you know anything about the Marine Corps and military, you do everything in 3s, right? Because 3s you can remember. So if you ask any of those guys, what are your core values? They'll say 3 things. They'll say in no order: discipline, mental, physical, and emotional toughness. You got to have all 3. And then loyalty, unconditional loyalty. And so at Highland Park, those are our core values. So you ask any one of our guys, and then they'll be able to tell you and explain what each one means. Discipline is just not discipline. Discipline is doing the same thing, fundamentally correct, regardless of fatigue, duress, or whatever's going through your life. That you're doing the same thing over and over again. I'm a huge fan of you can't make it up. These coaches that go out there and try to make things up, like for example, we play zone defense. That's part of our package. Coaches say, well, 5 games into the season, we're playing the superior team. We're going to play zone now to slow the game down. You're making it up. That's not part of your package, and your kids don't believe in it because you're putting it in for an opponent. You should have put that in my opinion, 2 months prior, ready for that opponent when it comes, so it's not a surprise for them. So we number one, we don't make it up. Just because we're out there and the game's going on, don't revert back to summer league. Play as your coach to play. That's a huge thing with me. Play as your coach to play, which you do every day. We send these recruits to prospect days, right? And the killer is hero ball. My line is, you go to a prospect day, you do the ordinary, you don't do the extraordinary. Running down the alley and hitting a 15-yarder from, high to high as an infielder, that don't impress me. Great passers impress me, not great shooters impress me. So being on the other side of it. So, those things come to mind as we think of some of this stuff. Anybody else? So when I got hired a year ago, a theme was ban them to blue. So we're going to start in the 1st grade. So my tentacles are already down there with the bobbleheads, and then all the way up to the high school kids. And so we have coaches at each level, and we did a lot of that year 1. It's going to be year 3 and 4. It's going to be better than ever. So we're going to use that same terminology, but again, not 27, maybe 7 of them. But even dialing up those younger kids to challenge their IQ is huge. You look at for me, it was like Mike Nasir, the greatest high school coach in the history of lacrosse, was from West Genesee High School in central New York. Every time in every recruiting trip, when I was wherever I was, when I was in Central New York, I was taking Coach Monsieur out to lunch. Just to sit there for 3 hours and pick this guy's brain. But he was the one, he started him in the first grade. This is that little sleepy Camillus, New York, outside of Syracuse. And the greatest coach, high school coach of all time. But he, that was it. When he got them, they were like a finished product. It was, he wasn't coaching them, he was guiding them. That was a big line of his. When I get them, I should be guiding them. I shouldn't be coaching them. Those younger coaches coached them. I got the finished product here. I got to guide them in the right direction. But yes, we're doing a lot of that with every chance I can. Every free moment, I go down to the youth. I'll go to Bantam. I'll go to 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. I'm down there with the gold team. I'm down there with the JV team. Retired now, just coaching full-time on the field, and I love doing that, being involved with those young guys.
What are some of the things that you would stress? Talk about 30 seconds, we got like 3 seconds.
I think a big thing, like with a lot of these guys, I can't stand guys winging it. I have a written practice plan, for every level. Atlas, I'm texting the Atlas guys the practice plan. They've never seen this before in their life. These are the pros. So we have that. I cannot have guys wing it. You're not the coaches making it up. You're sticking to the plan that you decided. And I have all those coaches, they text me their practice plan. So all year long, I've had the coaches report to myself and what we're teaching our youth kids. And not that I'm necessarily being a jerk about it and being overbearing about it, but if we see something we don't agree with, we're going to say something about it. And then those same things, you got to watch. You pull out some of these college All-Americans, and they're used to a high level. Now you bring them into coach, and they're not the most positive, with these kids. And big line is that don't make them hate it. You don't have to make them hate it. You don't. For me, it's always was like when you have a locker room. When your guys are running to the locker room at 3:05 every day, they can't wait. You got it going when they're running to the locker room. Last year we had guys, for the most part, we were running to the locker room for that pregame meeting. And then the other thing too, as a coach, you're always looking for, I call a wrinkle, to kind of keep the spice going. We'll bring some laughter into the locker room. Obviously highly appropriate, but just enjoying the journey, enjoying the grind, without making it a journey, without making it a grind. That I'm not a big guy that coaches that say fun is for the Bantam kids. As you get older, it's about winning. It's not about winning at all costs. It's about winning the right way. But you're having fun when you're winning, and that's a big part of it too. Well, I've always been. I wake up at 4 a.m. every day. Usually the practice schedule is done by 6, traditionally, because I use that time, a couple coffees and get that done. Obviously, for guys who work full time, a totally different deal. I'm a big believer in involving your assistant coaches in the practice schedule. So we'll meet after practice and talk briefly about what happened, and then I have them send me via text what they want in tomorrow's practice. But prior to that, I give them a guideline. So I'll say in week 1, Monday through Friday, Monday we're going to install this, unsettled transition. Tuesday is the clearing game and maybe team face-off. So there's categories that you want to have done by the weekend. Then you implement the specific drills to the categories for the end product. And so there's 3 weeks before your first game. What do you want in by the first Saturday? What do you want in by the second Saturday? Now you got to play. What do you have to have in? And I think the big part is if you look at it just as a whole, it's mind-boggling, in my opinion. If you look at it in smaller pieces and segments, it makes so much more sense. And that planning has changed for myself over the years too. But again, I get that we have, there's two of us that are full-time lacrosse. Everybody else, commercial real estate, UBS, teachers. And I try to take as much of that off their plate. Now I'm so conscious of those guys and the commitment they make. So every little thing that I can do where they don't have to do it and provide it and they just show up and are ready to coach their specific area, that's kind of my job. So I micromanage those guys to keep it so short, so sweet, so to the point where they're not over, I'm not doing enough, I'm not doing maybe a proper job here. I don't know if that helps or not, but just fanatical with the time management. Just like in college, the beauty you have, and I couldn't get it at Highland Park, so we have a manager in the press box, puts the score, the clock on the scoreboard at practice. So let's say there's a drill for 12 minutes. He'll put the 12-minute drill on the scoreboard. And so what we would do, so what it teaches the kids to do is you're constantly looking at the time, which you should be in the game anyway. And then it got down to the last minute 30, and then the entire team would yell, look at the board, and yell Timex. Because the most important part of any quarter, any half, any game is the last minute 30. So you're paying attention to that. So what I would do, I would bring them in the huddle, use my watch, and go, we got 2 minutes left here. We count down 30, 1:30, and then they all scream Timex in the huddle. So we couldn't use the scoreboard, so we had to figure out other ways to pay attention to the watch. Again, I just go back to all you guys are good coaches and gals too. And I have 3 Division I athletes in my family. My wife swam at Michigan. My daughter played volleyball at Loyola, and Maggie was my Bryant captain. So my house, it wasn't Title IX, it was Title 99. And and never got the TV. We had women's sports, which was awesome the entire time. So if you don't say anything, when those kids get in drills, they'll go best on best, worst with worst. So you got to choreograph that, put your best LSM with your 4th LSM, or whoever the matchup was. So you could put the young freshman with the senior, the sophomore with the junior. You can choreograph that. I don't need the best players playing with the best players in the preseason. I need the best players playing with the younger guys. And that's like a rite of passage that they take great pride on, that they're coaching, helping next. I'm a huge believer, all of us were the great coach, you're coaching next year's team now. You're not looking beyond, but it's in the back of your mind. And so you look at the best teams are the best programs. The names change, the numbers change, and they're still right there. And that's because you're coaching next year's team now. And the pride that your upperclassmen have in the legacy of that by coaching those younger guys in those drills. I have seniors and captains coaching the guys they're never going to play with. So that's part of it too, to demonstrate that pride in the program that we, as older, a maturity level for a senior in high school, I'm not sure I could do it. 17-year-old senior, you think you're the greatest thing of all time, and you're coaching some spinning leg little 14-year-old who's on the JV? Why should I care? I'm never going to play with the guy. Well, we don't allow that. That's your program. He's got the same jersey you had, and guess what, buddy? 4 years ago, you looked like that too. You're reminded of that without being sarcastic or demeaning or stuff like that. But yeah, you can have, and that's why I think that the players that coach those younger guys, you got that kind of humility going on. You got it really going on.
Your 3 high school teams, are they all separate in practice now, or are they used together, kind of split up during the field? How do you?
Well, actually, like we're a big switch. So last year we were 3 teams, varsity 1, varsity 2, JV. We're going to 2 teams this year. So we have 74 boys in the high school trying out. So we're going to go 2 teams of mid-30-ish. We had 27 kids on the blue last year, right? We didn't have one lefty in 40 years, not one lefty on the entire team, not a lefty defenseman. So we made Duncan Zilke our lefty attackman. Never in my life have I seen that. Not one lefty, goalie, defenseman, 27 was ridiculous because you get a couple injuries, you can't scrimmage. And now we're going to do too is that we're going to do, blue versus blue. We're going to do blue versus blue 1 versus gold 1. Gold 2, like the second half of the gold roster versus second half of the blue roster. So that'll be so much more competitive among all those kids. And then we're going to go down, the blue staff, we're going to go down twice a week and coach the JV kids. So those freshmen and sophomores that'll never even play in the gold, that are strictly, immature physically, we all have them that are just not there yet. The 3 blue coaches are going to go down there for an hour twice a week and coach those guys. So again, making sure that, hey, we care about them too. And even though some of them probably might not even ever play in the blue level, keeping them in the program. So for me, it's like this, there's something, we're all different. I don't need to see a kid play 9 times to make a decision on him or not. Sometimes I've seen him play once and I said, that's our guy. A big thing, I was talking to the high school kids today with Coach Mack at our clinic, and this is just me, and I've said this for years, I will take a better man who's a lesser player than a better player who's a lesser man 100% of the time. And my better man is going to find a way to beat that better player. The personal qualities for all you guys are off the charts. Those other boxes: work ethic, selflessness, teammate, moral fiber, obviously the academics. You look at these Division I rosters, there's 55, 60 guys. There's one white ball out there, and not everybody can touch it. The greatest teams I've ever coached have had the greatest role players of all time. I coached Paul Rabel in 210 for Team USA. Coach, I'll play LSM to win. I don't care. He's the greatest midfielder on the planet at the time. He didn't care. He wanted to win. So to continue to express to your kids about all those other things, humility. I'm a big believer, every day is a job interview. We don't grunt at people. Kids grunt. I always call them hey Keller, hey Joe. I always call everybody by first name. And I expect you to do that to everybody else. So those, another phrase we used, you can be a great student, a great sibling, a great son to your parents. It's cool to care. It's cool to have believe in the Almighty, whatever that, it's all cool. We can do all that, but on Saturday afternoon, we're going to go out and rip your lungs out. We can do that without beating our chest and thinking we're better than somebody else. And I'm telling you, these coaches, and I did it, I'd be sitting there, and I see some individual hero ball play, or, guy makes a great play and runs off by himself, just cross his name. You get your name crossed one time, that's it. And that to me is so much more important than the other stuff. Because the other stuff is they're so close, such a fine line between the skill set, the athleticism, and all of that. And then the other part too, for the recruiting, for mid-majors like Bryant, for example, as opposed to when I coached at Duke, you recruit guys based on their upside at LIU. It's not what they are now, it's what are they going to be their sophomore year in college. And so we've had numerous guys, all of a sudden sophomores, and they go, who the hell is he? he wasn't a finished product as a junior in high school. And he had a great upside. And all of a sudden, he was not very skilled, but he was a great athlete. Then the skills caught up to his athleticism. So there's a lot of that. What you envision, like for example here, Texas, there's some finished products in Dallas and Houston and Austin and San Antonio, but more of our kids are like unfinished products. And what they could be, once they get it, quote, get it, their sophomore year in college. I say this all the time. Best thing about a freshman becomes a sophomore. And so again, that's a big part of, we, as you guys, we have football players, which I love. Just raw, these type A, killers in football. And for years, I think the myth up the Dallas way was, that you couldn't get him to the IQ. You couldn't get him refined that way. Now with club too, and like all these guys are playing summer club, all these, college coaches are flocking to all these areas down here looking for that athlete that is a player now, which has been huge, I think. We've had more college interest in the Dallas area, I've been told, than we've ever have. Yeah. And the other myth too, last thing about brings to a great point with me that I didn't like about Texas is that if you went, either you graduated, you went to Duke or Virginia or Yale, and if you didn't go, you went to Texas A&M or Clemson or Georgia, because you hung up your stick. I thought that, I couldn't stand that. And there's incredible lacrosse in Division II. There's incredible lacrosse in Division III. I coached at Ohio Wesleyan for 5 years. We didn't try any harder at Ohio Wesleyan than we did at Duke. It's the same thing. And to win a national championship in Division III, and I'm not knocking club ball, I'm not saying that, but if you're that type of player and you're that type of competitor, to hang your stick up and go play at SMU, as opposed to go to Rollins in Florida and play great D2, go to Tampa, go to Tufts. Tufts is like going to Yale. Our face-off guys going to Williams. Williams is every bit of Harvard. So that's what it is for me now. Just NCAA lacrosse, 1, 2, or 3. And one of our best defensive middies is going to Sewanee. I went to Washington and Lee. It's just like W&L. It's the same thing. Otherwise, in the past, he was going to go to Tennessee and play club ball. And again, I'm not knocking that. But if you put that much into the sport, you should be playing at the NCAA level, whatever Roman numeral that is. And that's my job, to help you and your parents figure out what level that is. And then the academic fit. I get one of our best attackmen. I talked to Mike Morgan, the head coach of Merrimack. You guys haven't heard of Merrimack before. Bryant's arch rival, Attleboro, Mass, 30 minutes from Boston. I mean, they're really good. They like he's going up there to visit next week. Yeah, let's go. Merrimack would be a great school for him. And they play everybody. They open with Bucknell in 2 weeks. He's going to see the Bucknell Merrimack game. So, 2-sport, 3-sport. I played football, hockey, lacrosse in high school. I was going to college. If I couldn't play both, I wasn't interested in the school. So that to me, like, I remember, I can tell you how many recruits would sit in the office, they're juniors in high school. Coach, I'm going to quit football and play full-time lacrosse. Like, that's supposed to impress me. First and foremost, you're going to quit? I know guys, you could spot the Q and the T, they couldn't even spell the word. But I get that football or whatever, you're going to stop playing, but there's so much you learn from those other sports. So much you learn, and especially in high school. And to quit your boys. I'm quitting my classmates, the kids I grew up with, and we can be really good that year, and all of a sudden I pack it in on them. I'm not sure, that goes with me. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We're up on time. Thank you.
Okay, Blake, thank you.